We have some audio of Ron reacting to Chase Young's return to the defensive lineup.
Brian, I know you were very anxious to watch the tape on Chase Young. What did you see from Chase? Did he have his explosiveness, and did he remind you of the Chase Young you've known from his rookie year?
Scott, to your point, he did remind me a lot of the things from his rookie year. You know, first of all, he was so excited to get back out on the field. We had to really kind of try to tempo him the best we could. A couple times he popped out there, you know, when it wasn't his time to rotate in. But you know, we try to maintain that with him as good as we can. Secondly, I thought he did show his explosiveness. There were some times where you saw him just flat out win on his own, and the quarterback just barely get the ball out on time. And then you saw his persistence in terms of you know, countering, coming back underneath, and then getting his first sack. That was good to see. And then there were a couple times, especially in the red zone when we needed him and Montez came through together where they met at the quarterback. That was a lot of fun. So you start to see him get back into it. I think he's got to work a little bit on his communications with the tackle that he's rushing with, so that, you know, again, hey, I'm gonna go up and under, or I'm coming inside, you know, cover me, and those types of things. So he's got a little work to do, but it's great to see because he is first of all, he's in great shape. He kept himself in great shape. He worked at his craft while he was waiting for his opportunity, and so right now his return to play isn't going to be one of those where you just keep waiting for it to come. I think he's where he needs to be, and he'll just keep getting better, I believe, in terms of his performance and his working with his teammates.
Really was a shocking game for him, in my opinion, to play only 4 plays in the preseason, to have that injury, whatever the hell it was, and to be kind of held out of contact for that long, to be able to just, you know, practice a couple days and they get thrown into the mix and play whatever he played, 47 of 60-some snaps or whatever it was.
He played 71% of the snaps.
Shows you what kind of physical freak he is. So if his mind is in the game and his motor is running, I mean, he can be one of the best in the league.
And
because physically, he's ridiculous.
I'm interested in what he said. It's something I should ask John next time we have John Allen on. I didn't, I guess, because I never played football. I wasn't a D lineman. I didn't know that those guys talk to each other like, okay, I'm going to go under, you go, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, I didn't, which makes all the sense in the world.
Right.
Of course they do. I just didn't know that. So that's interesting. If that's something he just needs to just tighten up, that seems like a real easy fix. Once we get those guys really working in tandem, watch out.
Coach Ron seemed giddy. Yeah. He has another weapon. It's like a quarterback who gets a receiver back. The quarterback might have been fine with what they have, but then when you get somebody back who's really good,
yeah, well,
it's just a difference. And when he said the thing about him and Sweat, I mean, it was noticeable.
For sure.
And Sweat has been super impactful to start the season, had a great first week, another good week. And if you can throw Chase Young into the mix, it's a scary defensive line. Jason talks about the pedigree. We often talk about where quarterbacks are drafted. These are 4 guys drafted in the first round. Mm-hmm. This is what they're supposed to do. And we've seen it from John Allen throughout his entire career. We've seen it from Deron Payne, especially the last 2 seasons. Montez has been a little up and down, maybe inconsistent.
But he's been pretty good.
He's been pretty good.
Yeah.
And Chase, he could very well be the best if he ever lives up to his potential.
The thing I just can't explain is that sophomore year before the injury. That just throws me in my whole sort of evaluation in my brain of him.
Right.
Like, how did you go 9 games with only 1.5 sacks? Like, what the hell? Now, I know he had a busy offseason and he was cashing in on all his opportunities. Maybe it's as simple as that. Just didn't come in quite ready to go.
Hopefully
but
he's just
maybe he just got a wake-up call.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe.
He just got a wake-up call this past offseason and then the preseason. He knows, again, I said this yesterday, he knows he's playing for a contract.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So if he wants a big 3 or 4 year contract, well, go out and put numbers up.
I also noticed that Ron, after the games, Ron often puts his foot in his mouth, right? But one thing he's pretty good at is after the games, he's fairly measured in his comments. And then he comes back the next day after he watches the tape, he gets all excited. Mm-hmm. At the 7 o'clock hour, I want to play some tape. I know we're going to play some of Baldy breaking down how. I also want to play Ron's comments that I heard yesterday of him talking about how he sounded downright giddy on that one, too. He's pretty measured after the game.
2-0, dude.
I know.
He's 2-0.
But after the game, he was very measured, and I was like, how come you're not praising this kid? This kid he balled out, and I don't think he quite realized it until he watched it. And I know yesterday, again, I don't want to do a whole how thing right here, but I was watching some of those throws again. I mean, they're super impressive throws.
Absolutely.
Super
How do you
impressive.
have to just
The dime to McLaurin in the end zone between two guys. I mean, it's just.
And I saw it from different angles.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, also, you can see the Cheeseman snap.
Okay.
That video does exist. Somebody out in the stands had it, put it out there.
Shocker, they're bringing in long
dribbled
snappers now to.
I feel
try
bad
to
for the guy. I don't want to see anybody lose their job.
I don't
but
either, but I mean, you can't have.
You can't dribble it.
Look,
repeatedly.
You can't draft a long snapper and then he's bad at his one job at long snapping.
But back to Chase Young, and you saw this last night. If Chase Young can be the game wrecker that we saw in season number 1, it could be another win or two for this team. It really could be. TJ Watt, he wins games for the Steelers. I think their record when TJ Watt wasn't in the game, usually you say a quarterback is most responsible for wins and losses, and that is true. But TJ Watt, when he wasn't in the lineup for the Steelers, I think they were 1-7.
Well, you could make.
And TJ Watt arguably won the game for him last night with the scoop and score.
Well, didn't
that
Chase,
wasn't his sack, but
that was Highsmith's.
Right.
But didn't Chase have a play where he held them to a field goal because it was on third down? He made a big play. Maybe it was some tackle behind the line or forced or did something.
Well, look,
and it
Chase,
forced a field goal instead of continuing the drive.
And he sacked Russell Wilson.
And that's a difference.
He sacked Russell Wilson on that one. And he also forced Russell Wilson to scramble left when Jamin Davis made the game-changing play.
It's only through 2 games at this point, but the sack totals for this team look the way they're supposed to, with Montez with 3 and with Chase Young with 1.5. Now it's great when Deron Payne, turns in a season where he gives you 9 or 10, and John Allen gives you 8 or 9 from the interior. But the way this team was built and designed was for Montez and for Chase Young to be double-digit sack guys.
I'm telling
that's the
you,
way the defense works its best.
It could be a win or two, because now they did the do-over on that play, but take the play where he deflected the pass, which they didn't count. That could be picked off. Like, it's something that TJ Watt does. TJ Watt had a deflection, at least one last night, where he just reads the quarterback and jumps up, and sometimes he picks those off.
And that's the type of play that you need if you want to beat a team like Buffalo. Those are the sorts of plays that you need your defense to make against a pretty mistake-prone quarterback in Josh Allen.
And I think he read one of the screens well. Like, I thought he played well, really well.
I agree. And I admit I was stunned by it. Now let's see if he can do it 2 weeks in a row. I think he can, but I was stunned by it. I did not expect him to play that much, and I did not expect him to be that impactful.
If he's in on 71% of the plays in his debut, why wouldn't he be in on 75 or 80% of them against Buffalo?
Well, I think that's probably about the tip of the iceberg. What percentage was Montez on?
They were very similar.
He was out there a lot.
Because they rotate those guys. You got to keep them fresh.
Both of them were right around 70%.
Yeah.
From what I saw.
Yeah.
But, you go back to that rookie season. All right, the sack total wasn't overwhelming with 7.5, but he had 4 forced fumbles.
Right.
He had 3 fumble recoveries.
You start making.
He had a bunch of tackles for loss. He had the passes deflected.
Right.
And that's how you change the game.
You'll take 7.5 as a rookie.
Yeah.
You take that.
It just wasn't spectacular, but it was just a taste of what you feel like could be coming. And he's still young enough that he can, if he puts it all together. I would just like to see someone with those kinds of physical gifts combine that with elite technique. You'd be unstoppable. It literally could be the greatest of all time.
You would love to see it.
Because there's no one with more physical gifts, right?
I'm sure there are others that are similar.
Others that are similar, maybe. But, he's
Watts.
a freak.
Watching Myles Garrett, I don't know how you block that guy.
Watt's a physical freak, too.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of them.
Micah Parsons, physical freak.
Well, Micah
Parsons
Parsons is
not
just
as tall as those
Micah
guys.
Parsons is just different.
Yeah.
Like, if you ever want to use that phrase, he's different.
Just has a motor.
He's different. Yeah, he's got a motor that just never stops. You saw there was a little social media back and forth with Jahan Dotson. Jahan Dotson, I tweeted something to the effect of 2-0 and like a yawning face, just kind of tongue in cheek, whatever. And then Micah, to his teammates, Penn State teammate, tweeted, "I'm coming."
Yep.
Which I have no problem with. They're two teammates breaking balls.
When's that first Dallas game?
And he's also not lying.
Right.
I think it's
that first Dallas game is in November. It's like Thanksgiving weekend.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving.
It's Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
Right.
They don't play until Thanksgiving.
And then the last game of the season is Dallas here.
We have Buffalo, New England, and then the Bears, and who else?
Falcons.
Buffalo, Philly.
At Philly.
Buffalo, Philly.
And then Chicago, Atlanta.
Yeah.
Chicago,
those are your
and
next
then
four.
New York. And New York obviously hadn't looked that good.
Yeah.
It's funny how you look at schedules now as opposed to August 15th.
Doesn't look quite as daunting.
Yeah, see.
But
injuries play a role.
You got to live up to your part, too.
Yeah. Well, you got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
And then you got to beat the teams that you are better than on paper.
100%. And you got to sneak, honestly, if you really want to have a great year, you got to sneak a couple dubs that you didn't think you were going to get.
Yep.
If they could get the Bills or Eagles and you're 3-1, you're going to beat the Bears.
I already told you, if you beat the Bills,
then you beat
Cakes and I are porky pig.
Pantsless.
Well, or the Eagles. But if you somehow steal one of those and you're 3-1, you have to be. The Bears again is like the Cardinals. That's a must win.
Short week at
agree.
home. You got to take advantage of that.
And against a team that can't do anything offensively right now.
Well, the only thing they can do is Justin Fields could run all over you and scare the poop
but
out
he
of
hadn't
you.
done that yet in 2 games.
Yeah. But they might just say throw caution to the wind and go, well, he's not passing it well, might as well just
I think
run.
last year when he first started, they weren't calling a lot of designed runs for him. The offense didn't look good.
And then they just said,
they said,
run.
Yeah, exactly. So I think you're going to see the same thing happen this year because things have not looked good for that offense. And hopefully they won't when they take on the Commanders in a few weeks.